What if I told you that every single wealthy person you admire started exactly where you are right now? Broke, confused, wondering if financial freedom was even possible. But here's the truth. Nobody wants you to know. Building wealth has nothing to do with your age, your background, or how much money is sitting in your bank account right now. It has everything to do with the decisions you make in the next 60 seconds. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a complete blueprint that works whether you're 18 or 80, whether you have $10 or 10,000. But first, I need you to do something for me right now. Pause whatever you're doing, give this video a like, and drop a comment below, telling me your age and your biggest financial obstacle. Because what I'm about to share with you is going to challenge everything you thought you knew about money, and I want to make sure you're paying attention. The algorithm rewards engagement, and the more people who see this, the more lives we can change together. So hit that like button right now, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's dive into the exact system that has helped thousands of people go from completely broke to financially independent. Let me start by destroying the biggest lie you've ever been told about wealth. You've been conditioned to believe that rich people got lucky, that they inherited money, that they had special connections or opportunities you'll never have. And while some of that might be true for a small percentage of wealthy individuals, the overwhelming majority of millionaires in America are first-generation wealthy. They didn't inherit a dime. They built it from scratch. According to recent studies, nearly 80% of millionaires in the United States didn't receive any inheritance at all. They created their wealth through consistent, strategic decisions over time. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. The reason most people never build wealth isn't because they don't make enough money. It's because they don't understand how money actually works. They treat money like it's something to spend rather than something to multiply. They see their paycheck as a reward for their hard work rather than as seeds that need to be planted to grow into something bigger. And this fundamental misunderstanding keeps them trapped in a cycle of working hard, spending everything, and never getting ahead. But you're about to break that cycle forever. Now, before we go any further, I want to address something important. Maybe you're watching this and thinking, this doesn't apply to me. I'm too old to start building wealth. Or maybe you're thinking, I'm too young. I don't have any experience or credibility. Let me tell you something that will change your perspective entirely. Some of the most successful wealth builders in history started late in life. Colonel Sanders founded KFC at age 62. Vera Wang entered the fashion industry at 40. Sam Walton opened his first Walmart at 44. And on the flip side, some of the youngest billionaires in the world built their fortunes in their 20s. Mark Zuckerberg became a billionaire at 23. Kylie Jenner built a cosmetics empire before she turned 25. The point is this: wealth building isn't about when you start. It's about starting with the right strategy and staying consistent. Let's talk about what wealth actually means, because this is where most people get confused. Wealth isn't about having expensive cars, designer clothes, or a massive house in the suburbs. Those are symbols of wealth, not actual wealth. Real wealth is freedom. It's the ability to make decisions without worrying about money. It's waking up every morning and choosing how you want to spend your time instead of being forced to trade your hours for dollars. It's having enough passive income flowing in every month that you could stop working tomorrow and your lifestyle wouldn't change. That's wealth, and that's exactly what we're going to build together. The first thing you need to understand is that building wealth is a game of offense and defense. Most people only play defense. They focus on saving money, cutting expenses, and trying to keep their head above water. And while defense is important, you'll never get rich playing defense alone. You need offense. You need to actively create income streams, invest strategically, and leverage your time and resources to multiply your money. Think of it like a basketball game. You can play the best defense in the world, but if you never score points, you're still going to lose. Wealth building works the same way. So let's start with the foundation. The The very first step to building wealth from zero is to shift your mindset about money. You need to stop seeing money as scarce and start seeing it as abundant. There is more money in the world today than at any point in human history. Trillions of dollars are flowing through the global economy every single day. The question isn't whether there's enough money to go around. The question is whether you're positioning yourself to capture some of it. And the answer starts with how you think. Wealthy people think differently about money than broke people. Broke people think about money in terms of scarcity. They say things like, "I can't afford that," or "money doesn't grow on trees," or "the rich get richer and the poor get poorer." These beliefs create a mental prison that keeps them stuck. Wealthy people, on the other hand, think about money in terms of abundance and opportunity. When they see something they want, they don't ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "How can I afford this? What would I need to do to make this purchase possible?" That subtle shift in language creates a completely different way of approaching financial decisions. Here's a practical exercise I want you to do right now. Think about your current financial situation. Whatever you're feeling about money right now, whether it's stress, anxiety, frustration, or fear, I want you to acknowledge that feeling and then let it go. Because those emotions are based on your past experiences, not your future potential. Starting right now, you're going to operate from a place of abundance. You're going to believe that you are capable of creating wealth, that opportunities are everywhere, and that your financial situation can change dramatically in a very short period of time. This isn't just positive thinking. This is about rewiring your brain to see possibilities instead of limitations. Now let's get tactical. The absolute first thing you need to do to start building wealth is to get crystal clear on where your money is going right now. Most people have no idea how much they spend or where their money goes. They just know that by the end of the month, their bank account is empty and they're wondering what happened. This is financial blindness, and it's killing your wealth-building potential. You cannot manage what you don't measure. So here's what you're going to do. For the next 30 days, track every single dollar you spend. And I mean every dollar. That coffee you bought this morning, that subscription you forgot you had, that impulse purchase on Amazon, write it all down. Use an app, use a spreadsheet, use a notebook. I don't care how you do it, just do it. Because once you have this data, you're going to see patterns that will shock you. Most people discover that they're spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars every month on things that don't actually improve their lives. They're paying for gym memberships they never use, streaming services they rarely watch, food delivery when they could cook at home, and impulse purchases that end up in the back of their closet. These leaks in your financial ship are preventing you from building wealth. And the beautiful thing is that once you identify them, you can plug them immediately. Imagine finding an extra $300 in your budget every month just by cutting out things you don't actually need or use. That's $3,600 a year. Invested properly, that could turn into hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. But here's where most financial advice stops, and that's a huge mistake. Cutting expenses is important, but it's not enough. You can only cut so much before you're living on rice and beans in a tiny apartment with no heat. That's not wealth building. That's just suffering. The real key to building wealth is to increase your income while keeping your expenses relatively stable. This creates a gap between what you earn and what you spend, and that gap is where wealth is built. Let me share a concept with you that changed my entire financial life, the profit first principle. This idea comes from business, but it applies perfectly to personal finance. Most people operate on this formula: income minus expenses equals savings. They earn money, spend most of it, and then try to save whatever is left over. The problem is that there's never anything left over. There's always another expense, another emergency, another thing that needs to be paid for. Wealthy people flip this formula around. They operate on income minus savings equals expenses. The moment money comes in, they immediately set aside their savings and investments first. Then they live on whatever is left. This one shift can completely transform your financial life because it forces you to prioritize wealth building before anything else. Here's how you implement this starting today. The moment you get paid, immediately transfer at least 20% of your income into a separate savings or investment account. If you can do more, but start with 20% minimum. This money is now off limits. You don't touch it for bills, you don't touch it for emergencies, you don't touch it for anything except building wealth. Then you live on the remaining 80%. And yes, this might require you to make some lifestyle adjustments. You might need to cook at home more often, skip that vacation this year, or drive your current car for a few more years instead of upgrading. But these are temporary sacrifices that lead to permanent wealth. Now let's talk about something that makes most people uncomfortable: earning more money. For some reason, there's this cultural belief that wanting more money is greedy or shallow. Let me dispel that myth right now. Money is a tool. It's not good or bad, it's neutral. What matters is what you do with it, and the more money you have, the more impact you can make in the world. You can support causes you care about, help family members who are struggling, donate to charities, create jobs for others, and live a life of freedom and choice. There is nothing wrong with wanting more money. In fact, if you want to build serious wealth, you need to become obsessed with increasing your income. There are essentially 3 ways to increase your income: climb the corporate ladder, start a side business, or invest in assets that produce passive income. Let's break down each one because you're probably going to use a combination of all 3 to build real wealth. First, climbing the corporate ladder. If you currently have a job, you need to treat your career like a business. You are not just an employee, you are a value creator. Your employer pays you money in exchange for the value you provide. The more value you create, the more money you can command. So how do you increase your value? You develop high-income skills. You take on more responsibility, you solve problems that nobody else can solve, and you make yourself indispensable. Most people show up to work, do the bare minimum, collect their paycheck, and wonder why they never get promoted or receive significant raises. That's not how you build wealth. You need to be the person who consistently over-delivers, who takes initiative, who finds ways to increase revenue or decrease costs for your company. When you do this, promotions and raises become inevitable. But here's the secret that nobody tells you about corporate jobs. There's a ceiling. No matter how good you are, no matter how hard you work, there's a limit to how much you can earn as an employee. That's why you need to diversify your income streams. Which brings us to the second method: starting a side business. The internet has created the most incredible wealth-building opportunity in human history. Right now, you can start a business from your bedroom with nothing more than a laptop and an internet connection. You can reach customers all over the world without needing a physical storefront, without needing inventory, and without needing a huge upfront investment. This is unprecedented. 50 years ago, starting a business required massive amounts of capital, connections, and risk. Today, you can test business ideas for almost nothing and scale the ones that work. What kind of business should you start? That depends on your skills, interests, and the market demand. But here's a framework that works. Identify a problem that people have, create a solution to that problem, and sell that solution. It doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe you're great at graphic design, so you start a freelance design business. Maybe you know how to fix computers, so you offer tech support services. Maybe you're passionate about fitness, so you create an online coaching program. Maybe you have expertise in a particular field, so you create digital courses teaching others what you know. The possibilities are endless. But let me warn you about something. Most people who start side businesses fail. Not because their idea was bad, not because they weren't capable, but because they give up too soon. They work on their business for a few weeks or months, don't see immediate results, get discouraged, and quit. Building a successful business takes time. It requires consistency, patience, and a willingness to learn from failure. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have setbacks. There will be moments when you question whether it's worth it. But if you push through those difficult moments and stay committed, eventually you'll break through. And once your side business starts generating significant income, your wealth-building journey accelerates dramatically. Now let's talk about the third method of increasing income: passive income through investments. This is where real wealth is built. Active income is when you trade your time for money. Passive income is when your money works for you, generating returns even while you sleep. The goal is to eventually flip the ratio so that your passive income exceeds your expenses. When that happens, you've achieved financial freedom. The most accessible form of passive income for most people is investing in the stock market. And no, you don't need to be a financial genius to do this successfully. In fact, trying to be too smart about investing usually backfires. The best strategy for most people is simple: invest consistently in low-cost index funds that track the overall market. Over long periods of time, the stock market has historically returned about 10% annually. That means if you invest $1,000 today and leave it alone for 30 years, assuming a 10% return, it will grow to over $17,000. That's the power of compound interest. But here's where it gets really exciting. If you invest $1,000 every single month for 30 years at a 10% return, you won't have $360,000. You'll have over $2 million. Let me say that again. Investing just $1,000 per month consistently over 3 decades can make you a multi-millionaire. Most people think becoming a millionaire requires winning the lottery or inventing the next big tech product. But the reality is that ordinary people become millionaires all the time simply by investing consistently over long periods of time. The key is to start now, regardless of your age. If you're in your 20s, you have time on your side. Even small investments now will compound into enormous sums by the time you retire. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you don't have as much time, but you probably have more income to invest. Either way, the best time to start investing was yesterday. The second best time is today. Let me address some common objections I hear. But I don't have any money to invest. Yes, you do. Remember that budget tracking exercise I mentioned earlier? Those unnecessary expenses you're going to cut? That money goes straight into investments. Even if you can only invest $50 a month right now, that's $50 working for you instead of sitting idle. But the market is too high right now. I should wait for a crash. This is one of the biggest mistakes investors make. Trying to time the market almost never works. Even professional investors with decades of experience and sophisticated algorithms can't consistently predict market movements. The best strategy is to invest regularly regardless of what the market is doing. This is called dollar-cost averaging, and it smooths out market volatility over time. But what if I lose everything? If you're investing in diversified index funds and holding long-term, the risk of losing everything is essentially zero. Yes, the market will go down sometimes. There will be corrections and even crashes. But historically, the market has always recovered and gone on to reach new highs. The only way you lose is if you panic and sell during a downturn. Now let's talk about something that separates the wealthy from everyone else: leverage. Leverage is the ability to control more resources than you personally own. It's how real estate investors buy million-dollar properties with small down payments. It's how business owners scale their companies without working more hours. It's how investors multiply their returns. Understanding and using leverage responsibly is crucial to building significant wealth. The most common form of leverage is debt. Now, I know what you're thinking. I thought debt was bad? Not all debt is bad. Consumer debt, credit cards, car loans, personal loans used to buy things that lose value is terrible. This kind of debt keeps you poor because you're paying interest on depreciating assets. But investment debt, mortgages on rental properties, business loans that generate more revenue than the interest costs, margin loans secured by appreciating assets can be powerful tools for building wealth. The difference is simple. Bad debt pays for consumption, good debt pays for assets that generate income. Let me give you an example. Say you buy a rental property for $300,000 with a 20% down payment. You only put in $60,000 of your own money, but you control an entire property worth $300,000. If that property appreciates by just 5% in a year, it's now worth $315,000. That's a $15,000 gain on your $60,000 investment, which is a 25% return. But wait, it gets better. Your tenant is paying you rent every month, which covers the mortgage payment and hopefully leaves you with some extra cash flow. So you're earning money while the property appreciates, and someone else is paying down your mortgage for you. This is how wealthy people use leverage to build wealth faster than would be possible with just their own capital. But leverage is a double-edged sword. It amplifies gains, but it also amplifies losses. If you're over-leveraged and something goes wrong, you lose your job, your tenant stops paying, the market crashes, you can find yourself in serious trouble. That's why you need to use leverage strategically and conservatively. Never leverage yourself to the point where a single setback could wipe you out. Always maintain cash reserves for emergencies. And always do your homework before taking on debt. Speaking of real estate, let's dive deeper into this asset class because it's one of the most reliable wealth builders in history. There's a reason why 90% of millionaires have invested in real estate. Property has several advantages over other investments. First, it's tangible. You can see it, touch it, walk through it. This psychological benefit helps many people feel more comfortable investing larger sums. Second, it provides multiple ways to profit: rental income, appreciation, tax benefits, and mortgage paydown. Third, it's relatively stable compared to stocks. While property values do fluctuate, they tend to be less volatile than the stock market. Fourth, you can use leverage, as we just discussed, to multiply your returns. But real estate isn't without challenges. It requires more upfront capital than stock market investing. It's less liquid, meaning you can't quickly convert it to cash if you need money. It requires management and maintenance, which takes time and effort. And it's location dependent, so choosing the wrong property or market can lead to poor returns. Despite these challenges, real estate remains one of the most effective wealth-building tools available, especially for people who are willing to educate themselves and put in the work. If you're interested in real estate but don't have enough capital to buy a property outright, there are several strategies you can use. You could house hack by buying a multi-unit property, living in one unit, and renting out the others to cover your mortgage. You could partner with other investors to pool resources. You could invest in real estate investment trusts, which are companies that own and operate income-producing properties and allow you to invest without actually owning physical property. You could look into seller financing, where the current owner acts as the bank and you make payments directly to them instead of getting a traditional mortgage. There are always creative solutions if you're willing to look for them. Now, let's talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough: the importance of protecting your wealth once you start building it. Most people focus all their energy on making money and none of their energy on keeping money. This is a huge mistake. You need proper insurance to protect against catastrophic losses. Health insurance protects you from medical bankruptcy. Disability insurance protects your income if you become unable to work. Life insurance protects your family if something happens to you. Liability insurance protects your assets from lawsuits. These aren't sexy topics, but they're absolutely critical. One major health crisis, accident, or lawsuit could wipe out years of wealth building if you're not properly protected. You also need to protect yourself from yourself. Behavioral finance research shows that our own psychology is often our biggest enemy when it comes to building wealth. We make emotional decisions, we chase hot investments, we panic and sell at the worst possible times, we spend money to impress people we don't even like. Having systems in place to protect yourself from these tendencies is crucial. Automate your savings and investments so you don't have to rely on willpower. Remove temptation by unsubscribing from marketing emails and unfollowing influencers who make you want to buy things. Build an accountability system where you have someone you trust reviewing your financial decisions. These safeguards might seem unnecessary now, but they'll save you from costly mistakes down the road. Let me share something personal with you. There was a point in my journey where I thought I had it all figured out. I was earning good money, my investments were growing, everything seemed great. And then I made a series of stupid decisions. I invested in a business opportunity that seemed too good to be true, and it was. I took on too much risk trying to accelerate my wealth building. I ignored warning signs because I was overconfident, and I lost a significant amount of money. It was devastating, not just financially, but emotionally. I felt like a failure. I questioned whether I had what it takes to build wealth. But looking back now, that experience was one of the most valuable lessons I ever learned. It taught me humility. It taught me the importance of due diligence. It taught me that building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. And it taught me that setbacks are inevitable, but they don't define you unless you let them. If you take nothing else from this video, remember this. You will make mistakes. You will have setbacks. There will be investments that don't work out, businesses that fail, decisions you regret. That's all part of the process. The difference between people who eventually become wealthy and people who stay broke isn't that wealthy people never fail. It's that they learn from their failures, adjust their approach, and keep moving forward. They don't let one bad experience convince them that wealth building is impossible. They treat each setback as tuition in the University of Financial Education. Now let's discuss one of the most overlooked aspects of wealth building, your network. There's a famous saying that your net worth is determined by your network, and it's absolutely true. The people you surround yourself with have an enormous impact on your financial trajectory. If you spend all your time with people who are broke, who complain about money, who have a scarcity mindset, that's going to rub off on you. But if you intentionally cultivate relationships with people who are ambitious, who are building businesses, who are investing intelligently, who have an abundance mindset, their habits and perspectives will influence you in positive ways. This doesn't mean you should abandon your current friends or only associate with rich people. It means you should be intentional about expanding your network to include people who are where you want to be financially. Join investment clubs, attend entrepreneurship meetups, take courses where you'll meet like-minded individuals, engage in online communities focused on wealth building. These connections can lead to business opportunities, investment partnerships, mentorship relationships, and valuable advice that accelerates your journey. Speaking of mentorship, finding people who have already achieved what you're trying to achieve is one of the fastest ways to compress your timeline to success. A good mentor can help you avoid costly mistakes, introduce you to opportunities, hold you accountable, and provide guidance based on their own experience. But here's the thing. Successful people are busy, and they get approached for mentorship all the time. You can't just ask someone to be your mentor and expect them to say yes. You need to provide value first. Help them with something, demonstrate your commitment and work ethic, show that you're serious about implementing advice, and be respectful of their time. When you approach mentorship this way, you'll be surprised how many successful people are willing to help. Let's talk about something controversial. Side hustles versus focus. The internet is full of advice telling you to start multiple side hustles, create several income streams, diversify your efforts. And while there's some wisdom in not putting all your eggs in one basket, there's also danger in spreading yourself too thin. Especially when you're just starting out, trying to do 10 different things usually means you don't do any of them well. My advice is to focus on 1 or 2 primary wealth-building strategies at a time and master them before adding more. If you're building a side business, pour your energy into making that business successful before starting another one. If you're investing in real estate, become an expert in one market or strategy before expanding. If you're climbing the corporate ladder, focus on excelling in your current role before taking on additional projects. Depth beats breadth in the early stages of wealth building. Now I want to address something that holds many people back, limiting beliefs about what's possible for someone like them. Maybe you grew up poor and you've internalized the message that wealth isn't for people from your background. Maybe you didn't go to college and you think that disqualifies you from building significant wealth. Maybe you're a woman in a male-dominated field or a minority facing systemic barriers. I'm not going to pretend these challenges don't exist or that building wealth is equally easy for everyone. But I will tell you this: your past does not determine your future. Your current circumstances do not define your potential. And while you may face obstacles that others don't, those obstacles are not insurmountable. There are countless examples of people who overcame far worse circumstances than you're facing and went on to build extraordinary wealth. What made them different wasn't luck or special privileges. It was an unwavering belief that they could change their situation combined with relentless action. Let me share a framework that has helped me and countless others break through limiting beliefs: the concept of expanding your comfort zone. Right now, you have a certain level of income, lifestyle, and financial security that feels normal and comfortable to you. This is your comfort zone. Everything outside of it feels scary, risky, or unrealistic. But here's the thing: your comfort zone is not fixed. It's completely malleable and can be expanded. The way you expand it is by taking small, consistent actions that push just slightly beyond what feels comfortable. Maybe that means negotiating your salary for the first time, even though it makes you nervous. Maybe it means investing your first $100 in the stock market, even though you're worried about losing it. Maybe it means starting that business you've been thinking about, even though you're not sure you're ready. Each time you do something slightly outside your comfort zone and survive, your comfort zone expands. Over time, things that once seemed impossible become normal. Income levels that once seemed unreachable become your baseline. This is how you transform your relationship with money and wealth. Let's talk about taxes, because this is where a lot of people leave money on the table. The tax code is incredibly complex, but it's also filled with incentives and benefits for people who know how to use them. Wealthy people understand this and structure their finances to minimize their tax burden legally. I'm not talking about tax evasion, which is illegal and stupid. I'm talking about tax optimization, which is smart financial planning. Contributing to retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs reduces your taxable income while building wealth for the future. Investing in real estate provides deductions for mortgage interest, property taxes, depreciation, and operating expenses. Starting a business opens up numerous deductions for legitimate business expenses. Holding investments for more than a year qualifies you for lower long-term capital gains rates. Making charitable donations reduces your tax bill while supporting causes you care about. These are just a few examples, but the point is that learning the tax code or working with a competent tax professional can save you thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars every year. That money can be redirected toward building wealth instead of going to the government. Now let's address something that trips up a lot of people: lifestyle inflation. As your income increases, there's a natural tendency to increase your spending proportionally. You get a raise and immediately upgrade your car, move to a nicer apartment, start eating out more often, take more expensive vacations. Before you know it, you're earning twice as much as you were 5 years ago, but you're not any wealthier because your expenses have kept pace with your income. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the primary reasons people stay broke even as they earn more money. The key to avoiding this trap is to cap your spending at a certain level and direct every dollar of additional income towards savings and investments. When you get a raise, pretend it didn't happen as far as your lifestyle is concerned. Bank that extra money. When your side business starts generating profit, resist the urge to treat yourself with fancy purchases. Invest those profits back into the business or into other assets. I know this requires discipline and delayed gratification, but this is literally the difference between looking rich and being rich. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine two people who both start earning $100,000 per year at age 30. Person A spends $90,000 and saves $10,000. Person B spends $50,000 and saves $50,000. Both people get consistent raises over the years and both retire at 65. Person A is spending 80% of their income their entire career, slowly increasing their lifestyle as their income grows. Person B keeps their lifestyle relatively modest and saves the majority of their raises and bonuses. By age 65, Person A has a nice house, a decent car, some savings, and will need to rely on Social Security in retirement. Person B is a multimillionaire with complete financial freedom and the ability to live however they choose. Same starting point, completely different outcomes, all because of the decision to prioritize wealth building over lifestyle inflation. Let's talk about something that scares a lot of people: taking calculated risks. Building significant wealth requires stepping outside your comfort zone and taking risks that most people aren't willing to take. Notice I said calculated risks, not reckless gambling. There's a huge difference. Calculated risk means you've done your research, you understand what could go wrong, you've minimized potential downsides, and the potential upside justifies the risk. Reckless gambling means you're betting money you can't afford to lose on something you don't understand, hoping to get lucky. Wealthy people take calculated risks all the time. They start businesses knowing there's a chance of failure, but believing the potential payoff is worth it. They invest in assets that might go down in value in the short term, but have strong fundamentals for long-term growth. They make career moves that might not work out, but could dramatically accelerate their trajectory. The difference between wealthy people and poor people isn't that wealthy people never fail. It's that they're willing to risk failure in pursuit of extraordinary success. But here's the thing about risk. It's relative to your situation. If you have no savings, significant debt, and dependents relying on you, taking a big financial risk is probably irresponsible. You need to build a foundation first. But if you're young, debt-free, with a decent emergency fund and no major obligations, you can afford to take bigger swings. This is actually one advantage younger people have in wealth building. They have time to recover from failures and the flexibility to take chances that might not be available later in life. If you're in this position, don't waste it playing it safe. Take intelligent risks while you can. Now I want to talk about something that might surprise you: the importance of generosity in wealth building. You might be thinking, wait, I'm trying to build wealth. Why would I give money away? Here's why. Generosity creates abundance mindset. It builds your network through relationship capital. It creates positive karma that often comes back to you in unexpected ways, and frankly, it just feels good and reminds you that money is a tool for creating value in the world. I'm not suggesting you give away money you need for basic expenses, or that should be going toward building your financial foundation. But once you reach a point where you have some financial breathing room, being generous with your time, knowledge, and yes, money, tends to accelerate rather than hinder your wealth-building journey. Many of the wealthiest people I know are also the most generous, and they'll tell you that their generosity has been one of the keys to their success. Let's discuss something practical: the emergency fund. Before you start investing aggressively or taking business risks, you need a financial buffer to protect you from life's inevitable curveballs. An emergency fund is money set aside in a savings account specifically for unexpected expenses: medical bills, car repairs, job loss, emergency travel, whatever life throws at you. Financial experts typically recommend having 3 to 6 months of living expenses in your emergency fund. If you spend $4,000 per month, you should have $12,000 to $24,000 in easily accessible savings. I know that seems like a lot, especially if you're starting from zero, but think about how much stress and anxiety you'll eliminate knowing you have this cushion. And think about how this prevents you from going into debt when emergencies happen, which would set back your wealth-building journey. Start with a goal of $1,000, then build to 1 month's expenses, then 3 months, then 6 months. This is one of the foundations of financial security. Now let's talk about something that can dramatically accelerate your wealth building: acquiring high-income skills. These are skills that are in high demand and command premium compensation. Things like software development, digital marketing, copywriting, sales, video editing, financial analysis, project management. The beautiful thing about high-income skills is that they're learnable. You don't need a college degree or natural talent. You need focused effort and consistent practice. If you commit to developing one high-income skill, you can dramatically increase your earning potential within months or years. There are countless free or low-cost resources online to learn virtually any skill you can imagine. The question isn't whether you can learn these skills. It's whether you're willing to put in the work. Here's a specific action plan for skill development. Identify a high-income skill that aligns with your interests and the market demand. Research what the top earners in that skill are doing. Find free resources like YouTube videos, blogs, and podcasts to learn the fundamentals. Invest in a comprehensive course or program to accelerate your learning. Practice deliberately by working on projects, even if they're just for yourself at first. Build a portfolio showcasing your work. Start offering your services, even if it's for free or heavily discounted at first, to build experience and testimonials. Gradually raise your rates as you improve and build social proof. Within 12 to 24 months of focused effort, you can transform yourself from a complete beginner to someone who commands serious money for your skills. Let me share something that might be uncomfortable to hear. If you want to build significant wealth, you probably need to work harder and smarter than most people are willing to. I'm not talking about mindlessly grinding yourself into burnout. I'm talking about being intentional and strategic with your time, eliminating distractions, focusing on high-impact activities, and being willing to make short-term sacrifices for long-term gain. Most people spend their evenings watching TV, scrolling social media, or engaging in activities that provide temporary pleasure but don't move them forward. If you redirect that time toward building skills, starting a business, networking, or learning about investing, you'll create an enormous advantage over time. 3 hours per day focused on wealth-building activities is 21 hours per week, which is over 1,000 hours per year. Imagine what you could accomplish with 1,000 hours of focused effort on your financial future. But let's also talk about balance. Because burnout is real and sustainable, success requires taking care of yourself. You need adequate sleep, regular exercise, healthy nutrition, meaningful relationships, and activities that bring you joy. Ironically, people who take care of themselves tend to build wealth faster than people who sacrifice everything for money, because they have more energy, clearer thinking, better decision-making, and greater resilience when challenges arise. So yes, work hard, but also be smart about rest and recovery. Now let's discuss something that separates good wealth builders from great ones: the ability to learn from both success and failure. Every financial decision you make, every investment, every business venture, every career move provides data. Most people don't pay attention to this data. They just keep making the same mistakes over and over, or they get lucky once and can't replicate it because they don't understand what actually drove their success. Wealthy people are different. They actively analyze their decisions. What worked? What didn't? Why? What can I learn from this? What will I do differently next time? This meta-learning, this ability to learn about learning, compounds over time and gives you better and better judgment about financial decisions. I recommend keeping a financial journal where you document significant decisions, the reasoning behind them, and the outcomes. Review this journal periodically to identify patterns. You'll start to notice that certain types of investments consistently work well for you while others don't. You'll recognize emotional triggers that lead to poor decisions. You'll see opportunities you missed and understand why. This self-awareness is incredibly valuable and will help you make better decisions going forward. Let's talk about something that might seem obvious, but that most people get wrong: the importance of continuous education. The world is changing faster than ever before. Technologies, industries, business models, investment strategies that work today might be obsolete tomorrow. If you stop learning, you stop growing, and you'll get left behind. Wealthy people are voracious learners. They read constantly. They listen to podcasts and audiobooks. They attend seminars and conferences. They seek out mentors and experts. They take courses. They understand that investing in their own knowledge and skills provides better returns than almost any other investment they could make. Here's a challenge. Commit to reading or listening to at least one book per month on topics related to wealth building. That's 12 books per year. Do this consistently for 5 years, and you'll have consumed 60 books worth of knowledge. That level of financial education puts you ahead of 99% of people. Now I want to address something that holds back a lot of smart, capable people: perfectionism and analysis paralysis. You're waiting for the perfect business idea, the perfect investment opportunity, the perfect time to start. Let me tell you something. There is no perfect. Waiting for perfect means you never start, and never starting means you never build wealth. You need to embrace imperfect action. Start before you're ready. Launch that business even though it's not perfect. Make that investment even though you don't have complete information. You'll learn more from taking action and adjusting based on real feedback than you ever will from endless planning and research. Obviously, don't be reckless, but don't let the pursuit of perfection prevent you from moving forward. Related to this is the concept of failing fast. In the business world, there's an understanding that you want to test ideas quickly, see what works, and abandon what doesn't. The same principle applies to wealth building. Try different strategies, investments, income streams. Some will work better than others. When something isn't working, don't stubbornly stick with it out of pride or sunk cost fallacy. Cut your losses and redirect that energy toward something more promising. This flexibility and willingness to pivot is crucial. Let's talk about something deeply personal: your relationship with money. Many people have dysfunctional relationships with money stemming from childhood experiences, cultural messages, or past traumas. Maybe you grew up in poverty and you're afraid of being poor again, which makes you hoard money and miss growth opportunities. Maybe you associate money with greed and you self-sabotage whenever you start building wealth because deep down you don't think you deserve it. Maybe you use spending as emotional therapy, buying things to feel better when you're stressed or sad. These psychological patterns will sabotage your wealth-building efforts unless you address them. Sometimes this requires therapy or counseling. Sometimes it just requires honest self-reflection and conscious effort to change your patterns. But addressing your money psychology is not optional if you want to build and maintain significant wealth. Here's something practical that can transform your finances. Negotiate everything. Most people accept the first price they're quoted without question, but almost everything is negotiable. Your salary, your rent, your car price, your medical bills, your insurance rates, your subscriptions, your contractor quotes. Simply asking for a better deal, backed up with research and alternative options, will often result in savings or increased income. Over a lifetime, the skill of negotiation can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yet most people never develop this skill because they're uncomfortable with the idea of asking. Get over that discomfort. Negotiation isn't rude or aggressive when done respectfully. It's just good business. Let's discuss something that can dramatically impact your wealth: your choice of life partner. If you end up in a long-term relationship or marriage, your partner's financial attitudes and behaviors will significantly affect your wealth-building journey. If you're aligned on financial goals, both contributing and making smart decisions together, you'll build wealth faster than either of you could alone. But if you're with someone who has completely different values around money, who spends recklessly, who doesn't support your wealth-building efforts, who creates financial drama, That relationship will hold you back or even destroy your finances. I'm not saying money should be the only consideration in choosing a partner, but financial compatibility is far more important than most people realize. Have honest conversations about money early in relationships. Understand each other's financial history, beliefs, goals, and habits. Make sure you're compatible in this crucial area. Now let's talk about legacy. Building wealth isn't just about your own financial freedom. It's about creating opportunities for future generations. If you build significant wealth, you can help your children avoid the financial struggles you faced. You can fund their education, help them buy their first home, seed their business ideas. You can break generational cycles of poverty and create generational wealth that continues long after you're gone. This requires not just accumulating assets, but also teaching your children about money, instilling good financial habits, and setting up proper estate planning so your wealth transfers efficiently. Many wealthy families lose their fortunes within 3 generations because they failed to prepare their heirs. Don't let that happen to you. Speaking of estate planning, once you start building wealth, you need to think about wills, trusts, power of attorney, healthcare directives, and beneficiary designations. These aren't pleasant topics, but they're necessary. Without proper planning, a significant portion of your wealth could go to taxes and legal fees, your assets might not go to the people you want them to, and your family could face unnecessary stress and conflict during an already difficult time. Work with an estate planning attorney to set everything up properly. This is another form of wealth protection that too many people neglect. Let me share something that might change your perspective. Wealth building is not just about money. Yes, we've been talking about dollars and investments and income streams, but real wealth includes health, relationships, time freedom, personal growth, making a positive impact, and living according to your values. If you sacrifice all of these things in pursuit of money, you'll end up rich but miserable. The goal is integration, building financial wealth while also cultivating these other forms of wealth. This is why I emphasize sustainable strategies rather than get-rich-quick schemes. This is why balance matters. This is why understanding your why is so important. Money is a tool for creating the life you want, not the end goal itself. So let's talk about your why. Why do you want to build wealth? And I want you to go deeper than surface-level answers like, I want to be rich, or I don't want to worry about money. What will wealth actually enable in your life? Maybe it's the freedom to travel and experience different cultures. Maybe it's the ability to support aging parents. Maybe it's creating a non-profit to address a cause you care about. Maybe it's having the flexibility to pursue creative projects without financial pressure. Maybe it's simply the peace of mind that comes from security. Whatever it is, get crystal clear on it. Write it down. Visualize it regularly. Because building wealth requires sacrifice and discipline, and there will be moments when you want to give up. In those moments, reconnecting with your why will give you the motivation to keep going. Let's talk about some specific wealth-building strategies for different life stages. If you're in your 20s, you have the most valuable asset imaginable, time. Even small amounts invested now will compound into enormous sums by retirement. Focus on developing high-income skills, building multiple income streams, taking calculated risks, and maximizing your learning. Don't worry about expensive lifestyle upgrades. Live modestly, invest aggressively, and set yourself up for decades of compound growth. If you're in your 30s, you're likely earning more than in your 20s, but you might also have more responsibilities like family, mortgage, or other obligations. The key is to avoid lifestyle inflation and continue investing consistently. This is also a great time to start or scale a business, since you have enough experience to know what you're doing, but still enough energy and flexibility to handle the demands. Focus on maximizing your income through career advancement or entrepreneurship while keeping expenses in check. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you have less time for compound growth, but hopefully more income to invest. This is the stage where you need to get serious about catch-up contributions to retirement accounts, paying off high-interest debt, and ensuring your investment strategy is optimized. It's also crucial to protect what you've built with proper insurance and estate planning. You can't afford to take as many risks as younger people, but you also can't afford to play it completely safe. Find the balance that works for your situation. If you're in your 60s or beyond, the focus shifts somewhat from accumulation to preservation and distribution. But that doesn't mean you stop building wealth. Many people in this age group start consulting businesses, invest in dividend-producing assets, or pursue passion projects that also generate income. The key is to ensure you have enough to support your desired lifestyle in retirement while also considering legacy planning for your heirs. Regardless of your age, the principles remain the same. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference consistently, increase your income through value creation, protect your assets, and stay committed to the long-term plan. Now let me share some final thoughts as we wrap up this comprehensive guide to building wealth from zero. First, understand that building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, consistency, and patience. Most people who achieve significant wealth do so gradually over many years, not through lottery wins or overnight success. Embrace the process and trust that small actions compound into big results. Second, take responsibility for your financial situation. Yes, there may be systemic barriers, bad luck, or unfair circumstances that have contributed to where you are now. But dwelling on those factors won't change anything. The only thing you can control is what you do from this moment forward. Own your situation and commit to improving it. Third, surround yourself with the right people. Find mentors. Join communities of like-minded wealth builders. Distance yourself from people who drag you down or reinforce scarcity thinking. Your environment shapes your destiny more than you realize. Fourth, never stop learning. The world is constantly changing, and so should your strategies. Stay curious, stay humble, and stay committed to continuous improvement. Fifth, be generous and ethical in your wealth building. Make money by creating genuine value, treating people fairly, and operating with integrity. Wealth built on lies, exploitation, or harm to others is not worth having and rarely lasts. Finally, remember that you are capable of far more than you currently believe. The fact that you've watched this entire video tells me something important about you. You're willing to invest time in your financial education. You're serious about changing your situation, and you have the discipline to consume long-form content that most people won't sit through. These qualities predict success. You have what it takes. The only question is whether you'll actually implement what you've learned. So here's what I want you to do right now. First, go back and give this video a like if you haven't already, and subscribe to this channel. Second, leave a comment telling me one specific action you're going to take in the next 24 hours based on what you learned today. This creates accountability and helps solidify your commitment. Third, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Building wealth is better when you bring others along on the journey. And finally, take that first small action right now. Don't wait for Monday or next month or when you feel ready. Open that investment account, start tracking your expenses, reach out to that potential mentor. Whatever it is, do it now while you're still motivated. Building wealth from zero at any age is absolutely possible. Thousands of people do it every year. There's no reason you can't be one of them. You now have the knowledge, the framework, and the strategies. All that's left is execution. The life of financial freedom you dream about is waiting on the other side of consistent action. Go claim it. Thank you for investing your time in this video. I believe in you and I'm rooting for your success. Now go build the wealth you deserve.